And so recently Microsoft came out with an announcement that all CSP partners must implement MFA in all their accounts. So this is essentially a way to show you how to turn it on. I apologize for the video, but my mic went out when I first recorded this, and you can't undo it to turn the MFA back on. So first I'm going to log into a CSP Tenant using my Cinex account. So Cinex, we're allowed to go in as a master account, so to speak, into CSP Tenants if we're given the privileges. So I'm going to look for conditional access. It's under Security tab, so I can do it by searching this in the Search tab, or I can go down to Security and come down to Conditional Access. So we have a number of policies. The require MFA for admins and the end user protection are the base level that are being required for CSP tenants from Microsoft. And I'm going to look through here, so apologize again. When I recorded this, a mic failed, so I got a new headset. Anyways, it doesn't give you an option to delete, so once you change it and set it up, it's going to be there. I mean, it is a requirement, so Microsoft's not letting you back out of it. So I'm turning it on, and it's enabled. I'll turn on the end user protection. So both admins and end users coming into Azure from the Azure Active Directory for this tenant, which is SNX IoT Video on Microsoft.com, have now been both turned on. And I see I have the starter MFA. This is the one that doesn't cost anything, and there's implications to that as well, because if you do have something that if you do want more MFA across the board, you're going to have to pay for it. So this is the baseline from Microsoft. It's on there. Just watch as I'm doing some more stuff. So I know that's done. So now I'm going to sign out, and I'm going to sign back in with an account in the Azure Active Directory for this tenant, which is SNX IoT Video at Microsoft.com. Yeah, first I'm going to go back in with this. So, sorry. So one of the things you notice is I came in through a guest account, essentially, right? So it's not a member of this Active Directory. It's a secondary account that has admin rights into this. So the baseline MFA doesn't cover that. I don't have anything like I would with, say, a B2C tenant or something else where I do with multi-factor authentication to get into the tenant. So now I'm going to log in with my admin account for the SNX IoT Video.onmicrosoft.com account. I didn't tie this to a corporate domain, private domain name, so I'm just using that. It is a test instance, so it's pretty good. So I've turned it on, and it's telling me now I've got 14 days to avoid using MFA, but I'm going to go ahead and set that up. So because it's the baseline, the only secondary authentication is the mobile app, right? Anything else for MFA would be a purchase. So it would be a more expensive MFA option. So now I'm going to configure my mobile app. So it gives you this. You can scan it with your phone, or if you have the Microsoft Authenticator app on your phone, you can just add the account to that. So in the authentication app, which I'm not showing on your phone, you enter the email address for the account you're trying to log in here at. So on my authenticator on my phone, I entered the admin at snxioTvideo.com on Microsoft.com account and set it up for that. It takes a minute. Let's see if I can skip ahead. Okay. So now it's setting it up. And at this point, I believe I've gotten the verification on my phone and waiting for the OK on my end to log in. I'm going to click next again. So now it sent me an authorization OK on my phone. So on my phone, I would have seen the thing, is this okay? And just click the button and say yes. And now what happens is I get right into the account. But it did do the MFA to my phone. So I had to use a password to log in. And then as a second step, it sends basically an "Are you sure" message to your phone. So now we come back into the account. I'm logging into the account and it's reminding me that I got free advisor recommendations. Now, advisor recommendations will also show you certain things where you can save money, you can improve your performance, or in particular, my favorite is looking at security. So, on this particular account, the admin at SNX IoT Video, this tenant was set up to also handle B2C. So inadvertently, because it was the last tenant I had logged into, it dropped me into the B2C tenant for it. So I'm looking through Security Center here. I want to see if I got any critical issues I should address, including MFA, etc. I have nothing. That's because this B2C tenant doesn't have a subscription, so there's nothing really in there. It's just a secondary Active Directory instance that's tied to the main Active Directory for the SNX IoT Video to allow third-party accounts to authenticate to this domain. And in a minute, I'm going to realize that I am in the B2C tenant, so I'm going to change that. And of course, I have to go to all resources. I see nothing. And I have to switch my directory because I realized I was actually in the wrong directory. So I go into the correct directory. This is the one I came in as under my Cinex account as a guest user with admin privileges and turned on the MFA. I've already authenticated to it, so now I can jump right into it. So I'm going to go into Security Center. So I've set up the MFA for users and for admins on the account. And once again, they're only for users and admins for this tenant that are a member of the Active Directory, SNX IoT Video.onmicrosoft.com. If you look at, here's my security recommendations. The Security Center is free for basic stuff. You can turn stuff on and get more information on it. Turn off my updates. And it's telling me MFA should be enabled for all accounts with owner permissions on your subscriptions. If I wanted to turn that on, it'd be a second tier of MFA and would cost more money than the base level that Microsoft is insisting that everyone convert to. And it's for good reason, right? So I can turn on more of it through this management console, turning on these other stuff. I don't necessarily need to do this at this time, so I'm going to jump out of here. Come back into the portal. I'm going to log in. And this time so now it's all set up. I verified it's up good. I did the verification and say yes, where you can skip 14 days or not. And I went ahead and said, I'm not going to do the 14-day wait. So let's set it up and authenticate to my phone. So I'm logging in now. So this will be your normal behavior coming in. I log into the account with my admin, SNX IoT Video.onmicrosoft.com. I put in the password, and now a MFA notification has been sent to my phone. On my phone, I just click the button to say yes, approve. And that's what I'm doing right now. And in a second, the button will click over and boom, I'm into the tenant. So now we'll poke around, let's see what's going on here. I'm in the tenant, I'm in the admin. Now I'm going to look in the Azure Active Directory, because one of the things I was talking about was I had guest users with admin privileges. Not best practices in general, especially in production mode. In this case, this is a test instance. There's nothing critical in this. There's nothing really that I have to be concerned about with guest users. I have a number of guest users in here because we set it up with different vendors and partners and stuff to do things. And there's my Microsoft at Synnex account. And so I was set up as a global admin on here. Because it's a guest account, it's not a member of this Active Directory domain, the MFA will not apply to it. Now I can click the multi-factor authentication up there in the top right and turn it on, but that's going to be a monthly charged MFA, so I'm not going to do that. I'm going to check to see where I am in the video here, so I'm going to go to my advisor. I'm going to check that again. So I got some security recommendations, and I'll see the same thing on the left there under Advisory Security Center. We're going to go on there, and you'll see the same thing. And kill that. And see, I've got some high severity issues. I got 7 of those, so I want to look at those particular issues. And Security Center has a lot of features in it. So yeah, it's telling me MFA should be enabled on all accounts with owner permissions. I did it for those in that tenant, but I didn't do it for third-party accounts. And here it's telling me external accounts with owner permissions should be removed from your subscription. So I believe I'll be poking into that. Okay, I'm looking at the MFA. Probably a good idea to turn that on. But we're going to go back to Security Center overview here in a minute. And now I look at, it's telling me I should remove any third-party accounts or guest accounts, etc., that have admin rights to this subscription. Just in general, a good practice. Like I said, this is a test account. Kind of played a little loose on this. Probably not advisable. Definitely not advisable. Advisable for a production system. So I'm looking at my tenant subscription. It's under all services subscriptions, and I see who has access control to the subscription. So anyone with access control to the subscription has rights to every resource group. Even if you've done user separations and user resource group, in Azure you can set access control list to give only certain people rights to certain things in that resource group, so they have full control over the resource group, except for deleting it maybe, or except for adding resources or whatever. It's all, you can divide it up any way you want. So I'm looking at my owners, and so I'm looking at users who have owner rights on this account. So there's my admin account, and I've got a Palo Alto account, and the rest are all guest users. So probably a good idea. I'd recommend, if you've got a production instance of Azure going, to eliminate your secondary accounts or third-party accounts that are not a member of this Active Directory, and just set it up so that you go through the MFA and you'll only access the Azure tenant through MFA.